I know, that's good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that whenever you go to a next step, maybe you carry this big, huge family Bible, and you're like, that's what these guys will do, because they want all the glory. And then they will walk into school and they'll be like, Jesus, I love Jesus, and they would love Jesus a bit more than nobody loves Jesus. So they just wanted to get all the praise and all the glory. So go back to that. What was it before that?
I don't know.
Hit the up button. So they want all the praise. It goes on and it says that they love to sit in the place of honor whenever they eat with people. They want to be considered important in the synagogues. They want to be greeted at the marketplaces. Everything they did was to bring glory to themselves. They love for men to call them rabbi, which means master. They like to be called teacher, and they like to be called father. They like all these titles and stuff. So they want all the praise, verse 5. They over-spiritualize everything, so they just act like they're holier than everybody. That's verse 5. And then they want a title. They want to be called master. They want to be called teacher. They want to be called father. They want people to lift them up and to worship them, pretty much. They were setting themselves in the seat of being God. But that was the main problem with the false authority. And this is why Jesus is getting ready to tell them what he's getting ready to tell them. Hit the next slide. And the next. Okay. So he goes on, he gives them seven things that's wrong with them. And I mean, Jesus is starting, y'all ain't never seen Jesus get mad.
No.
Y'all about to see Jesus get mad.
All anger was a sin.
Okay, see it?
We don't
No,
see it.
he done that later or before. That's the temple. But he's getting ready to rip these guys up. So, brace yourself.
Wait, watch. Cheers.
Yeah.
All anger was a sin.
It says, be angry and sin not. So,
So,
you can have a righteous anger.
it's not sin.
Can
Yeah, you can be angry. Because he was mad because these guys were fake.
What is sin, right?
Because you can get mad because people are putting down your Savior. And you can say something about it. And I wouldn't punch them. You're supposed to turn the other cheek.
Steal people.
Hey, we can turn their cheek with our fist.
Did you shoot him?
So, this is what he's getting ready to say. Listen up. And we're going to get to the point in a minute. The big pain. 7 woes to false authority. Basically what he's saying, what guys, these guys are hypocrites. So he goes on, he says, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees. That's who he's talking about, who he's talking to now. You hypocrites. I mean, basically he just calls them on the carpet. And basically what this word means is whenever you break this thing down and look it up in the Greek, it actually means the same word that they would use for somebody that was an actor in a play or something. So that's what this word means. So he's basically saying, guys, you're acting this thing out, but you really don't live it. And that's what a hypocrite is. That's a basic word. That's the basic what it means. He says, you shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying. So basically, guys, these dudes taught about God. They said everything about God. They wanted to give you all the laws. They could quote the first 5 books of the Bible. Quote it. I mean, not just one verse. Like, I would take a Bible and just sit here and recite it. Wouldn't even look at the Bible. They could quote the first 5 books. Not a chapter, not a verse, not one book, not a passage. They could quote the first 5 books. That's Leviticus 2. So these dudes were like super spiritual. They taught about God, but they really didn't love him. They knew all about him in their head, but they never could tell you how to have a relationship with him. So that's the problem with these guys. They threw all this Jesus stuff, well, it wasn't Jesus stuff then, because they really didn't like Jesus, because Jesus did this. But they threw all this stuff about how to live for God at you, but they didn't live for him at all. So that's the first woe. They hindered people from getting to heaven, basically. They would throw all this stuff at you, and they wouldn't tell you how to do it. So that's one big problem with them. Second slide. Woe to you, teachers of the law, Pharisees. He kind of quotes that. You hypocrites. You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are. Now, that's pretty strong language. That's what Jesus said.
Hey,
He's a little upset.
good more.
So basically what he's saying here is these guys preached about God, but they preached their religion. They would travel all over the world and find people that would convert, not to Jesus, not to God, but to convert to Judaism and be like them. So whenever they would convert and be like them, they would give them all the stuff that they had to do. Wear these big boxes, carry this big Bible, wear the Jesus pants. They would make them do all this stuff and be like them. They didn't want them to be in a relationship with God. They just wanted them to be another person in their little clique. So they have major issues here. Next slide. This one's gonna get kind of wordy. Y'all just bear with me.
Oh.
Woe to you, and he doesn't say hypocrites this time. He says blind guides, because if I was blind and I was trying to lead you somewhere,
They don't know where they're going.
No.
Okay.
Mike.
So blind guides, you say if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if anyone who swears by the gold of the temple is bound by that oath. Now y'all gonna get into this in a minute. You blind fools. So basically, he calls them fools. Which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But anyone who swears by the gift on the altar is bound by the oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? And he goes on and he talks about a couple other things. So basically, guys, what these dudes were doing is if they swore by the temple, or if they swore by the altar, that means they were bound to that decision that they made. Just like you guys made commitments. Now we're going to get back to the commitment thing. You guys make commitments to be with Jesus and to get up and read your Bible or whatever every day. Make commitments not to date for 6 months. You make commitments to do this stuff, to live for Christ, to go drop your friends, whatever you make commitments on. These guys would make commitments, but they would make them not against the temple or against the altar or whatever else they made them against, because they knew they had to keep them. Instead, they would make them against the gold or against the sacrifice, because then if they didn't keep them, it was okay. So basically what they did was they made excuses for their commitments. They were like, oh, God ain't gonna care if I do it now. I know I said 6 months, but I'm only hit the 3. It's no big deal. So they didn't keep their commitments. And when they made them, they looked for the excuses. They looked for the way out all the time. So Jesus was upset at that. Look at the next one. Woe to you, teachers of the law, Pharisees, hypocrites. You give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin. What's a tenth whenever they give a tenth? Tithe. That's whenever people give 10% of their money that they bring in and do it up to the church. They gave a tenth. They gave the tithe. They were supposed to do that, and they did. He says, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat, but swallow a camel. So just think about somebody sitting on the toilet, straining out a gnat, but they just ate this big camel. That was the picture that Jesus was giving.
What the heck?
They have a lot more.
That's like Aaron.
Yeah, he's
Oh, they
saying
had a lot.
Sorry.
They had a little bit they could give out, but a lot to take in.
they had this, they were just like sucking all this stuff out of people, but they're only giving us a little bit. Basically what he was saying is that they taught the law, they taught everything about what God was saying, but they didn't practice it themselves. So they would give you everything that they knew because they knew all kinds of stuff. But whenever it was deep down inside of them, they didn't practice what they preached, just like I said before. So they gave a tenth of their money, but they didn't do stuff like have mercy and faithfulness and love justice. They didn't do that stuff. Look at that.
Forget that I'm over here.
Hello, Aaron, get away from him. Woe to you, teachers of the law, Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of a cup and a dish, but inside you are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and the dish, and then the outside will be clean also. So basically these guys look clean on the outside. You looked at them, they looked all clean and where they should be, but they were dirty on the inside. And the next one's going to be real similar. Here it is. Woe to you, teachers of the law, you Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs. Now, whenever they buried people in the Middle East, they didn't bury them under the ground like we do over here. They built this tomb, this either with ceramic or ivory or different types of stone. They would build this tomb that they would put the body in. And what they did with whitewash is they kind of like have white paint, and they'd kind of like put it on there and wash it off and make it look real pretty. And they would ordain it with a bunch of beautiful jewels and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was a big fanfare thing for a funeral. But he's saying that you look like whitewashed tombs. You look like a beautiful grave, which looks beautiful on the outside, but on the inside is full of bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. So they looked righteous. When you looked at these guys, they looked like they were doing everything that they could do to have a relationship with God that they needed to have. So I walk around people all day long in school who claim this big junk about being in church and knowing Jesus Christ, and then the next word that comes out of their mouth is a cuss word, or they go out back and they light up a cigarette, or whatever they do. But they talk about how wonderful they are. Just today, I was sitting in Ingles pumping gas, and I saw this big van pull up with Jesus is Lord all over the back of it. Jesus is my pilot. Didn't even say Jesus is my co-pilot. It said Jesus is my pilot. And then the dude was sitting out there smoking a Newport. And I was like, if he's your pilot, why are you addicted to some stinking tobacco plant? But anyway, these guys looked righteous. They looked like they were doing what they should have done. But at their heart, on the inside, they were wicked. And the last one, the seventh woe, says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law, Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build tombs for the prophets. You decorate the graves of the righteous, and you say that if we had been like, or if we had lived in those days of our ancestors, we have not taken part in the shedding of the blood of the prophets." Because these guys' grandfathers and great-grandfathers, you can read in the Old Testament, whenever somebody came and said that they were a prophet that spoke in the name of the Lord, they would kill them because they didn't want to know what God was saying to them. So these guys were saying, man, if we lived back then, we wouldn't have done that. We'd have listened to what they were saying. So you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead then and complete what your ancestors started. Basically what Jesus was saying is that they said that they wouldn't kill the prophets of the old, but yet they were going to murder the one person that they prophesied about, which was Jesus. Because these guys were getting ready to put him on the cross. That's what the Pharisees did. So now we get to the nitty-gritty. Hit the next one. Spiritual authority in your lives. You guys rattled off a bunch of them. I just made a little list. You got pastors, Christian parents, maybe. Some of your parents, they're not Christians, but they're trying to be spiritual authorities in your life, and that's jacking you up. Teachers. Some of your teachers are nowhere near spiritual authority. You're just in that class that you're in. Your friends. Sometimes your friends can be spiritual authority. I try to be a spiritual authority in a couple of guys that I hang around with that are younger than me, that are younger Christians than me, and I try to build them up in the Lord. So sometimes your friends can be spiritual authorities, and sometimes they can't, man. Sometimes they'll jack you up just as bad as the other stuff. Your family. Sometimes your family can be. And basically anybody that's an adult in the church should be a spiritual authority of you guys. Are they? Are they?
No.
Maybe.
Y'all get more credit than I do. Hit the next one.
Chip.
This is the last part of this verse. Jesus says, "Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the teachers of the law," and this is like the very first thing we're going to get. "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit to Moses' seat. They have spiritual authority over them. But he says, do not do what they do, for they don't practice what they preach." Hit the next one. This is just this week, the past few weeks. I've heard pastors say that there's more than one way to heaven. Jesus ain't the only way. Is that true? So are pastors really spiritual authorities in our lives? A lot of them are jacked up, man. A lot of them don't believe in Jesus. A lot of them are preaching all kinds of crazy false doctrine stuff. Some of them are even homosexuals. Go ahead.
Don't some preachers like say you can pay your way in heaven?
Yeah, some preachers say, they say all kinds of stuff. So whenever you go up to a pastor, if you're going to serve or submit up under a pastor, just like you guys come down here, how do you know what I'm telling you is true?
Study it.
Well, do you?
It's coming out of the book.
But do you? I could get up here and tell you all kinds of crazy stuff. Y'all could be out there daggone believing in some David Koresh cult leader crap. I don't know. I could give you all kinds of stuff, but if you don't go home and look it up by yourself, how are you going to know whether I'm telling you the truth or not?
We trust you.
I'm telling you, I am. But this is a lesson that you guys need to have later on in life, because whenever you get older and you get into a church and you're sitting on some of you guys, even young guys in here, have been in churches where the pastors were completely bogus. Didn't believe nothing about Jesus. They ended up going out and having affairs with people and just going crazy. So you got to make sure that you check that behind them, or they can be spitting out stuff that jacks you up, messes you up in your mind and everything else. So I've heard pastors just past couple weeks saying that there's more than one way to heaven. I've heard parents question basic spiritual truth in the Bible. They're like, what does that mean? Or where is that in there? Or what's going on with that? So I've seen that in the past couple weeks. I've heard teachers, Garrett can testify, teach